Stock traders paper trade for months before using real money, but crypto LPers, we just YOLO into pools and hope for the best. But that ends today. Meteora dropped a DLMM Playground that lets you simulate positions with real market data, test strategies like the Panda Strat or a bid ask, and see your exact P&L before deploying into the real market. This is an unfair advantage that we have previously been missing. So first of all, what is this tool? So the Meteora Playground is a simulation environment for your DLMM pools, so your dynamic liquidity market maker pools. And if you watch one of my previous videos or a few kind of on pool filtering or trying to find those pools, this would be the logical next step, or even testing out a strategy. So obviously on your traditional AMMs, you have your spot range and you have no customization on it. But on Meteora, we have a lot more flexibility over the positions we can do. And that's why having a tool like this is so useful. You can test them all without actually having to use your real money, put your capital at risk on the real platform. As people like me, people like Tendorian, who, he's publicly explained, we lost a lot of money early on testing these strategies in the real market, where now you can do it all simulated. So now it's time to try the simulator out, and it's very simple. As you can see, it's literally like your normal DLMM. You default, you have the Sol USDC loaded up, but you can add custom tokens. So you can see right here, I added this token. But what we can do is we can head over to the Meteora liquidity page to find new pairs generating fees. We can click on them. We can copy that pool address, and it does have to be a real pool as well. You can't simulate on pools or tokens that aren't out yet. And we can load that up, click add, we'll put it on our lineup, we can click on it and we can add a position, and it's literally the same as the Meteora interface. What we can do is we can do single-sided or two-sided, so I can put 0 there. The amount of Sol, you can select your bid ask or spot, as that's probably what we're normally going to want to be using, especially if you're learning. You're probably going to be picking your tokens, wanting to do bid ask. And as you can see, I've got my number of bins, the range, but you can't edit these. I won't be able to drag them. To do this, I have to click custom price range. And from here, I can lower this number. So if I was to put a 0 there, you got 92 bins, so a much wider range. And of course, it's not quite like Meteor. You can't you can see the percent here. So, you can pretty much get the information you need. But, this is just simulator, and it does work as intended. So I could open this, click add liquidity now, and it will open. What I'm going to do though is both sides just for the demonstration. So whichever way the token moves, we might be able to actually see how it acts. I'm going to slide that up, and it looks a bit funky now, but what I'll do is I'll just click back over to this one. It doesn't really matter what token I'm doing. And I'll put a number in there. So I went ahead and added that to this particular pool, and the price will match if I was to go back over to Meteora. You can see it says 0.247. That is actually the same here, just, it rounds a bit differently. But as the tokens moves on one, it will move on the other, and our fees will simulate what we would get right now as well. Obviously, this token has not moved if we were to change timescale to 1 minute. But when it does, we will see movement in our chart as well. There is a drawback, and if I were to refresh the page right now, I would lose my position, as just the way that your positions are stored is literally just not even session based, it's just reload based. So as soon as I refresh, I lose this. It's not stored in a cache or a database, as we've not connected. I don't know if there's plans to do that in the future, so you can actually set up proper bid ask and then leave them overnight. Obviously that's a lot more effort, and I'm assuming this is a lot simpler, but it does work for now. So anything you do set up is going to be for short term and mainly for just learning, see how it works. As obviously you can actually do the same thing if you were to make a position with a very small amount of Solana on the actual pool, but you are still risking some capital doing this, and you do have to pay that rent when you create a position on Meteora. But, you know, you can do the exact same flow I talked about in one of my other videos, which was you can apply the evil panda strategy with the token filters, the market cap, the token age, Jupiter score, volume, fees, and you can apply these. You could find a token which looks like it could match these. We can see on the graph, try and see a token which matches. It looks like none of these would pass the criteria for that. Maybe HTTPS if you got in earlier, you know, when we hit that all-time high, if the other indicators matched up. Luckily, we actually already loaded this up. But if we were doing that strategy, we would go over to this pool, add position, go one-sided, enter 0 there. We would add a much larger number here, whatever we wanted, spot position, and of course, we would want to go minus 90%, which is probably like, yeah, it's a bit small, but we will get there eventually. Maybe something like this, and we would add that, and that would be it. But of course, you would have to not refresh your browser. But this is a good way where you can simulate a bit of a larger position, see how it does. But sadly, we don't have time to wait for that. I did actually open this way earlier. It looks like, oh, I see I'm $5 in profit, and this has been open hours, and I can go ahead and close. But it just closes, as obviously it is a simulation. But there is a few key points to go in remembering this. It's not just all, you know, fun and games. When you're using this, it's good to be purposeful. So first of all, for every position you make, if it's something you think you might have done in real life before this feature was out, record your positions. Even if it's a loss, you can't, you know, shrug it off. Oh, minus 40%, we'll move on to the next one. If that happened in real DLMM, you would have taken a loss. So you need to make sure you're recording all of this in kind of a Google Sheets, your performance. Second of all is obviously you use a realistic size that you think you would use when you actually do DLMM. Don't, you know, simulate with $10,000. You're only going to use $100 on the actual platform.